Hi, Miss Roach, it's Tanya. I did my photo story on In the Garden of Beasts by Erik Larson. Our story takes place in Berlin, Germany in the early 1930s. Germany had been crippled by reparations from World War I, but was now rebuilding itself under a new regime. That new power was Hitler and his Nazi Germany followers. Although Germany flourished under the Nazi rule also brought a dark history upon Germany. Our story centers upon the Dodd family, the first ambassadorial family to Nazi Germany, as shown here. William E. Dodd was the perfect example of the American dream. He came from a humble farm in North Carolina and worked hard to earn his PhD in history in Germany and built his career in academia. He served as the first ambassador to Hitler's Germany. Martha Dodd was the ambassador Dodd's daughter. She was full of life and enthusiastically embraced her new life in Berlin. She made many friends and had several affairs with prominent Nazi officials. Rudolf Diels was a handsome head of the Gestapo at the time of the Dodds' residence in Germany. He came to know Martha quite well and eventually became her lover. Ernest Franz Hofmannsthal, also known as Putzi, was a boisterous, fun-loving Nazi official known to be one of the Führer's closest confidants. He also became very well acquainted with Martha Dodd and proceeded to have an affair with her as well. Boris Vinogradov worked for the Soviet embassy in Berlin. He too captured the fleeting heart of Martha Dodd. Their affair was one of the more controversial because of the suspicions that Vinogradov was a spy. Sigrid Schultz was a war correspondent and a friend of Martha Dodd's. She introduced Martha to the wonders of Berlin's social life as well as opened her eye to the horror of Hitler and his men. Mildred and Alfred Harnack were also close friends of Martha's. They introduced her to new people in Berlin's social scene. The couple was later executed upon Hitler's orders because they became a spy for the Allies. George Messersmith was the head of the U.S. consulate in Berlin during Dodd's stint as an ambassador. He was known for his gruesomely detailed account of Nazi atrocities toward Jews, but hardly anyone believed him in the U.S. And now begins the wild journey of the Dodd family in Berlin. The Berlin social scene was intoxicating. Generated by fascinating people, the Dodd family, especially Martha, found themselves being sucked into the grandeur of the revitalized German people under the Nazi regime. Hitler and his followers rose up through the ranks with the promise of a refreshed, flourishing Germany under their rule, and in many ways they kept their promise. But they kept it at the expense of 10 million innocent lives. So when Hitler did help the German economy, he also created a large stain on German history. Unwitting of the reality of the Nazi regime, Martha threw herself with gusto into her new life in Berlin. Soon, Martha was part of the in crowd, who were the epitome of the so-called rebirth of Germany. Fresh-faced, as she called them, and full of exciting ideas, Martha was infatuated with her new friends, unfortunately making her almost permanently blind to the horrors of the Nazis. While Martha was flinging herself into her new life, her father, Ambassador William Dodd, was more cautious in his approach to New Germany. Germany held a special place in Dodd's heart because of the time he had spent there getting his PhD. Martha was experiencing the same wonderful Germany her father had, only more exciting, and like her father, it came to hold a special place in her heart. She had almost daily interaction with Nazi officials, going down almost every night to a local Italian restaurant where a table was set aside for regulars like her and her friends. Martha became well acquainted with several Nazi officials, even becoming involved with some of them. But she only saw the personable side of them. She would have never been able to guess the horrors occurring at their hands. During their stay in Germany, the Dodd family witnessed the upcoming Nazi Party and their growing power. They generated their power by tons of nationalism, reviving German pride in their culture and people. The Nazi regime reset the precedent that being German was a privilege and that they lived the most lavish lifestyles and were the superior race. But all power comes at a cost. While Hitler revitalized many aspects of Germany's economy, social life, and just the people's mindset, he also devastated an entire religion and population of people. Erik Larson is a world-renowned author. In the Garden of Beasts was so popular that it's now being turned into a movie. I believe that Larson's purpose in writing In the Garden of Beasts was to explore a more well-rounded view of what happened in Germany with regard to the rise of the Nazi Party. Many people, including myself, had believed that the German people were powerless and just let Hitler and his men take over and perform their terrible acts. But in reality, the German people had no idea what was going on and were so swept up in the grandeur of their new lives, they didn't see what lay behind it. The thing I liked most about Larsen's writing style was how he created such a suspenseful atmosphere. He foreshadowed many of the smaller and bigger events that happened later on in the story at the beginning of the book, creating a cliffhanger from the very first page. Overall, I really enjoyed In the Garden of Beasts, and liked the well-rounded view it gave me of 1930s Berlin and the rise to Nazi Germany. Thanks, Miss Roach. I'll see you later.